Green Lantern issue 13, Legacy number 549, Jeremy Adams writing with Fernando Pasarin on the art. So, this has been a great run. A lot of stuff here has been really great, and also the cover for this one's fantastic. I'll just say that before we get to talk about everything else.
It is.
I will say that this is one of the weaker issues of the run, and I think it's a result of a few different things. One is that because it decides to sort of split up here and basically it checks in on like 4 or 5 different characters doing different things, it feels like a lot more like an interlude issue. Some of it is technically tying into the event, and to be fair, I think that mostly feels natural, right? At least given the way the last issue ended and the fact that Waller is involved with the Tharos stuff and the United Planets, it makes sense that there's a little bit of involvement there, and it makes sense that Tharos, he wants to know where this ring came from, how it's been powered. That's his big concern, and I love that plot detail. I love that's what they're all investigating right now. But this issue, as a satisfying monthly read, was a lot weaker than all of the other issues, barring maybe obviously the tie-ins to like Night Terrors, because those were.
I was going to say this
terrible.
Is outside of the Night Terrors issues, easily the worst issue of the run for me.
Yeah,
and I can tell you the exact moment where I realized this was the worst issue of the run for me.
Go on.
It was the point where I thought the issue had ended and we were in a backup story, and then it turned out it wasn't a backup story. And there was more stuff back with Hal after that. It's because there's a page. It does a full page spread of Sinestro in his new Red Lantern thing. And it's got a caption at the top, and the bottom is to see more of what Sinestro has been up to. You get editor's note. It's a full page. I thought that was the end of the issue, and then the next page it cuts to Alan Scott. So I'm like, oh, Alan Scott, right? Okay, we're in a backup now, and it's not.
Yeah, I never thought we were in a backup, but I think it was definitely around there where I realized, I think we're jumping around too many characters. When these issues have been so good in their focus and actually really excellent in their pacing. I want to compliment good pacing when I find it. I think that issue with Carol getting the ring at the end, the one that she almost got married, I thought that issue was almost perfect. I thought that was
fantastic.
Yeah, that was a fantastic issue that played into what's going on, because she's going to be the cavalry to come and get Hal and save him because he's in trouble. But it was such a perfectly focused issue that told the story really well. I think this issue, I don't think like any of the plot beats are bad. I don't think anything that's advancing story-wise is bad. It's just that it's jumping around so many characters, and some of it feels like he's making the best with what he can do because it has to tie into the event. And I think,
agree. And
yeah, on you go.
I was going to say, it has me a little bit concerned because one of those Task Force 7 tie-in issues is Adams. And that, I was like, I was counting him as one of the, the good writers in the group of ones I'd be excited for those tie-ins. Especially when it's like, his issue for that has the JSA. I think actually I'm a bit concerned thinking about it in the context of this issue being not just a tie-in, but I don't think he's handling large casts very well.
At that particular point, maybe that's something that we'll see if he can handle or not. It doesn't make me feel too bad for it, just because I assume then it's going to be focused on Alan and the JSA as opposed to, because the problem here is that it cuts to Alan and the JSA after it's been doing a few pages with Carol, a few pages with Hal, a few pages with Sinestro.
Really scattershot, yeah.
Yeah, a few pages with Jess and the Lanterns that are on Oa right now. Like, it's all over the place. I think what maybe this feels like to me is that, okay, this plot beat with Hal being held by Amanda Waller and her questioning about the ring on behalf of Tharos feels naturally like it fits into the run, and he's done a good job of making the ties to the event feel natural to what the story is going on. I think maybe where it's fallen down a little bit is that there's not actually enough story with this plot beat that he's got with Hal and this stuff to actually take up, 2 or 3 full issues. So instead what he's doing here is he's kind of using this as like a stopgap where, okay, we'll do a little check-in with everyone right now. And I'm interested in almost all of it. I was delighted to see Jess and see her check in with the other Lanterns and talk about, hey, this is what Tharos is up to. He's got the others captured.
A great B plot.
Yes.
An issue.
Yes.
But it's like 2 pages amongst 6 other B plots.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, all these other things that I like in this issue would be good as a single B plot, or indeed what they did with some of the previous backups where they had like a Jess story be a backup, and it felt really good. It felt like a great backup because it really added to the main story, but it felt separate enough because it focused on someone else. So it fit in really well.
Reasonable. Joe, I'm looking at the pages again now, and I can pinpoint exactly why I thought that Alan Scott bit was where it swapped to a backup.
Mm.
So it's the follow up from the previous page with the full page splash, the editor's note at the bottom. It felt like an ending moment, and then this page starts with, "My name's Alan Scott. I'm Earth's first Green Lantern." Like, it feels like the start of a backup story. Like, that whole page, and honestly, it wasn't until like 3 or 4 pages in that I was like, "Oh, this is still going."
And I think if you are going to jump around this many characters, I think what you have to do to anchor it is keep going back to Hal in between each story to make it feel like he's still wrapping around constantly. I think the fact that it goes straight from Jess stuff to Sinestro, straight to Alan Scott, right? It feels like it's going around too much. And then it eventually
in the middle of all of this, we're introducing a new lantern color.
Yeah, that's the kind of. Don't get me wrong, I actually like that we're kind of focusing on this guy that Carol's left at the altar, right? That is kind of funny to me. And it seems like a new lantern is created because he's really sad and he's looking at the ring and it's got like steam or something coming off of it.
I think I've seen referred to as Grey Lantern with a sorrow.
Yeah, I was thinking sorrow. Yeah, I was thinking
sorrow is the one it says, but people have been calling it a Grey Lantern already.
I mean, I can see that from the color, but yeah, because it says sorrow, obviously that's like it's the emotion, spectrum. Yeah. Oh yeah, the emotion, if you will. Yeah, which is fine. Like I'm not against this development. It is just kind of, it feels just kind of just randomly squished in here though.
That's it. I'm cautious with the amount of lantern expansion, should we say? That it doesn't inherently excite me, and I think in the context of this run, there's probably enough on this guy to build him up as a antagonist for Hal, right? As an anti-lantern, hey, you stole the person who was about to be my wife from me. Like, I can see where that arc comes from. I think shoehorning it into 2 pages in the middle of this issue was a horrific mistake.
Yeah, I think I could see how this might even tie to the idea that the entire spectrum's all wonky right now because Staros has mixed everything together. Where's this directly coming from? I wonder if even because this was a ring that was going to go to Carol, who is already a lantern of some kind, has something to do with why this is happening. Or maybe they'll do more with this guy's backstory too, because they kind of tease a little bit of his backstory here about how he's, the people who don't play by the rules always seem to win, and I've been a good boy my whole life, and the girl still ran away, and he's all upset. I'm not against this concept at all, and I think it might very well be really good. And I say that kind of confident because I feel like so far Adams has not really missed a step for me in terms of like how he's handled his overall run. Like all the story beats, I've liked the concept, I've liked how he's built them up. This just feels like a speed bump because of the event more than anything else. And it's been this collection of scenes. We get a Tharos page even as well here after that.
And then it goes back to Hal. I'm like, oh yeah, this is actually still the main issue.
Yeah, we're still on Hal. And it ends with him seeing basically a bunch of different like artifacts and magical and superhero related items being like contained and put into like a big cargo ship effectively. You can see like Harley Quinn's hammer, I think, is one of them, and I don't recognize the others, but yeah. His Green Lantern ring's one of them though. You can see they've got that in like a little case. Waller's clearly collecting a bunch of this to impound it and keep it away from superheroes and whatnot. Again, all the plot beats I think are solid. Pisarin's art, it is a step down from what we've had on the book from Zermanico, but
it's fine.
It's very house style. It's very just okay kind of thing. So our step down, and I think Chloe being a tie-in to the event has definitely made it a lot more stilted. Even though I think the plot beats themselves feel that they fit naturally, it's led to an issue that doesn't feel like it's got much of a structure or flows very well.
I agree. And it's one of the rare issues I feel like might have benefited from multiple artists tackling the different sections to give them a little bit. Because as it is, none of them have enough to really have anything about them. But maybe if they had different art styles, they'd like stand out in my brain a little bit more, have a little bit more identity.
Yeah, I do wonder if like all of the Hal stuff that we're going to get in the next issue or two as the event's on, I wonder if that all been just put in one issue with just the Hal stuff, have that be a special that still is part of the run, and then have all this other stuff be like just a special standalone issue.
Or take all the other stuff out and put it in as a Green Lantern Absolute Power tie-in.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of like separate it out a little bit and just redistribute it. May have been better. I think you still have to technically have it be part of the run with the Hal stuff because the last issue ended with like Waller coming to
Hal
get him.
stuff.
Yeah, but everything else, barring maybe the fiance becoming because that seems to be part of that story. Like that's going to be a part of the main book. But
I would have loved to cut out all the other stuff, like keep the Kyle stuff maybe because that's relevant to a Green Lantern book.
Kyle and Jess has been part of this run already. Whereas Sinestro,
Sinestro,
he's been a part of the run, but this Red Lantern stuff feels separate. It feels like
it does. Remains to be seen. We'll see how that ties into the run overall, or if it's an event thing. But I would definitely take out all the Alan Scotts, like that 4 or 5 pages, whatever it is, maybe 5 or 6. Cut it all out and expand the Nathaniel stuff instead.
Yeah. So, but I will say this: despite all these critiques, it's not made me any less enthusiastic about the rest of the run. I mean, I suspect the next issue or two might still suffer from this because it's still going to be doing this stuff. But it's not hindered my feelings on like, oh, I'm worried about the way this run's going now. I think once we get past like these tie-in issues, it's just going to be fine again. It'll be back
I
to
feel
being
the
good.
same about this as I did after the first few issues when we went into Nightmares.
Yes.
And that I was like, ugh, we're just derailing it. We're doing this stupid tie-in that I don't care about. And these issues feel like that. But it also feels like, just get through them. We'll be back to normal after.
Yeah. I think it's at least a bit better than the Night Terror stuff because some of it's still at least relevant. So it's not like a complete waste of time.
It almost makes it more annoying, though, because I can't just skip them. I have to read them. I have to read the tedious parts of it as well. Whereas with the Nightmares ones, I'm just like, well, I'm just going to read the Nightmares. It's fine.
Sure. I get it. I think I want to say that the September issues were still tie-in issues. At least some of them.
No,
I don't know. I don't know.
Far.
I don't know if Green Lantern still was, but certainly there was like a handful of them because I definitely noticed it saying Absolute Power tie-in. That said, though, one of the issues last week, which was billed as a tie-in, only the backup was a tie-in and the main story was untouched. So it wouldn't surprise me if that happens with some of these as well, where we're back to the regular story in an issue or two. But the tie-ins are still going to tie into Absolute Power, so the cover still says tie-in to whatever.
Issue 15, would that be September's issue?
This was 13, so yeah.
Yeah, that's still labelled as an Absolute Power tie-in.
Yeah, but I could see it not being the main story by that point. It just kind of depends what they do with it.
Reading the solicit, it definitely is.
Okay.
It's dealing with Amanda Waller and Amazo Jones, so...
Okay,
it's more of a tie-in, if anything.
That's a shame. Well, we'll just have to see, what he does with it. I mean, it's possible that while we may be disappointed that it's still tying in heavily, if it's more focused on Hal specifically, in like maybe a B story, and not as jumping around, because it feels like this one was also setting up that Task Force 7 issue as well as whatever Sinestro's doing next. So maybe at least the issue itself might still be better overall.
Yeah, maybe once it gets going, it can just actually tell a story, even if it's not the story that we were like really wanting right now.
Yeah. Oh well. What are you giving Green Lantern 13?
I'm gonna give it a 5, which is really harsh for this run, but it's just too chaotic, too fractured. I just can't give it any more than that.
I think I'm going to stretch a bit higher. I think I'm going to give it a 6 because I still like a lot of the plot developments that are happening here. I still like them building the Tharos stuff, and I still like that that's naturally connected to the Waller stuff. I think the actual way it's tying in story-wise to the event is actually very natural. It's just that this issue is a bit of an awkward read because it's so split up into all these different things that don't really connect all that well. Some better than others.